It's the Hot Rod Podcast with Ron Foreman and Brady Wright. We literally live, eat, and breathe cars. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today. Make sure that you hit the subscribe and the like button, mash the notifications on so that you'll know every time we put a new show together and bring it to you here on YouTube. Time to get going. Let's see what's happening this week. Hey, it's Brady Wright with the Hot Rod Podcast. Ron Foreman is taking a pass tonight, but tonight we have a really special guest. Her name is Diane Levine, and she is the mover and shaker behind Vroom Vroom Girl. There's a place on Facebook to find her. There's a place on the web to find her, but you can find her right here, right now. She is our guest for tonight's show. You're into cars. You love a good time, and you'd rather build it than buy it. You just might love the Rat Bastards. We're a family-oriented nonprofit organization. We welcome all 1969 and older. In the rough is enough, real steel and iron. We're about old-school traditional hot rods and rat rods. We get together, have fun, help each other build, and cruise like crazy, because that's the way car clubs are supposed to be. The Rat Bastards are a new class of old school, and our signature event is the Infestation Show every July. Check our Facebook page for location, time, and dates. We're charter sponsors of the Idaho Hot Rod Hall of Fame and the Hot Rod Podcast. Join us at cruise-ins all over Washington and Idaho. Joining the club is easy, by the way. Contact us through the club page for Washington or Idaho. Check us out on the Rat Bastards Car Club pages on Facebook. We'll see you on the road. So, as promised, Diane Levine, the Queen Levine, is with us from Vroom Vroom Girl, and welcome to the show. I really appreciate you taking some time and sitting down and talking with us. I love your background, by the way. It looks like
thank you.
Our stuff and things. And by the way, over to your, let's see, it would be to your left, I think. I see that the yellow and black flannel that you've got over there. Mm-hmm. I'm buying one of those from you later on.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm having a great time with the apparel. Part of what went on in my life of car business and being not the ordinary person that they would make apparel for, is they just didn't have it for women. Yeah. And we still have challenges. So I wanted to make some stuff that was just a lifestyle, fun, casual. And I actually have friends that ask their husbands ask if they have any other shirts, because they are in those flannels all the time. So
and you would be, wouldn't you? And that's just perfect.
Oh yeah,
So Dan, tell me about Vroom Vroom Girl. I mean, we can go to your Facebook page. It's Vroom Vroom Girl on Facebook, and I know you have a website and all of that. But just for folks who have not yet gotten there, and they will. How did you decide to start this thing? What was the genesis, and what's the vision of what you're doing?
So the name came from a friend calling me Vroom Vroom, because I was always posting on Facebook saying, I feel a vroom vroom coming on. That's one of my little tags. So I became Vroom Vroom Girl, and then started thinking about how I could help women in the industry, and knowing just basically having been in the industry for so long, knowing some of the challenges they go through, and being a cheerleader, and being a common thread and a common, somebody to support them.
Right.
So my first production of my booth was really to do that and be at car shows and ask women what they brought, to a show, and what they were working on, and get those conversations going. And then I realized, apparel is still in need. So I added the apparel, and I'm continuing to add. And so I'm just a pop-up store at shows, and then have my website.
And it's really, I mean, I having looked at your stuff and looked at some of your, your products and apparel and things like that, it kind of runs the gamut. But it's not, the people that you hear a name like Vroom Vroom Girl, and I know there are people who say, well, is it a women's organization? Is it a pinup thing? Is it a bunch of people who show up at car shows? No, it's none of that. I mean, it's easier to say what you're not than what you are. But a pop-up business is a perfectly good description. That's grand. And I'm obviously, your slogan, for girls who love cars is golden. That's perfect. There's a lot of women in every city that has cars, who want to be are a part, have their own cars, maybe don't have, all of that. But there's advocacy, I think that's pretty important, because let's face it, it's 23% of the hobby is women. It needs to be way bigger than that. And you're
Well,
doing,
it's a passion, and that's the thing
yeah,
that's so important for me is that, my family still, I mean, I'm in my 60s. My family does not understand. My son, thank goodness, is he was racing sprint cars for a while and is a great welder and has really embraced getting into the industry. So it's just, it's people know when they have a passion.
sure.
And, actually, I have friends that have said, when we go to lunch, can you please not talk about cars? And I'm like, well, what are we going to talk
What are we
about?
going to talk about? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and so we've had to, and these are high school friends. And so I've gotten so deep into this industry that, I'm waking up at night going, okay, what do I need to do? I mean, I'm going to go out in the garage and start, I'm fabricating some little rubber, dams for the Hudson and just different things here and there. And I don't do everything on my cars. I don't have a lift or big equipment at home, but I do what I can. And I think it's important for women to know that they don't have to have a full-fledged shop. And it's really not that
Sure.
hard to change spark plugs or, little things here and there. And um, kind of taking some of that mystery out of it or fear or reluctance. And there's a lot of women that I know. I'm friends with Bogey. I was blessed to go and work on the build with her in 2017. And that was such an epiphany for me. She goes, hey, you want to come play? I got on a plane and flew by myself for the first
Yes.
time to go meet a bunch of women I had never met before in a
Sure.
state I'd never been. And so it was really incredible and it recharged me. It just got me back wanting to get out there and talk to more women. And
Nice.
really, I get men that come in my booth now and they're like, hey, where's our stuff?
Yeah.
And so I do have it. I have some men's clothing, but I also have men pick up my shop shirts that says "Vroom Vroom Girl Garage" on the back,
Sure.
and they'll buy them and walk around the show in them, which I think is great.
And as it
So
should be. Well,
as it
there's
should be.
there's several groups. I mean, fortunately, doing a podcast like this, we get referrals from all kinds of people. There's a wonderful woman named Kay Turkelson who's in Salt Lake City who is a huge promoter of women in the sport and the sport in general. And in the city of Spokane, Washington, which is on the east coast of Washington, there's a gigantic club called the Miss Shifters, and
Right.
these women all have their own cars, and some of them have built their own cars, and they race and they do all kinds of stuff. And Rachel Foster is one of the big promoters there. She's been on the show several times. In fact, last year she was inducted into the Washington State Hot Rod Hall of Fame, and she lives about 40 minutes from me, so we
Oh,
get to see
nice.
each other reasonably often. And it's just it's really really um, it's great to see more women taking an active role instead of I'm the passenger. Uh,
Right.
and you mentioned, speaking of passenger, you mentioned a couple of your cars, but let's just go through the garage, shall we, and see
We shall.
what
Yeah.
lives under your roof there.
So I have the 1955 Hornet Custom, which is
Right,
the four-door with the Continental kit.
with the
And it
Continental
is,
kit. Oh,
yes, and it's got brand new cokers on it. I
nice.
definitely keep it as pristine as possible. It gets a lot of hand attention because most of the paint is original. It's very thin in spots. So usually when I disappear from the house, that's where I can be found. That's my therapy, rubbing on the car.
There you go.
Um, it is an automatic though. Didn't come with the park. So you start it in neutral and you park it in reverse.
Got it.
Very interesting car. The radio still works, a tube radio, and it's a lovely car. It was an impulse buy. I got wrecked in my daily Hemi, and so I was looking for another daily, and this popped up, and I just kind of had to have it. Yeah, buy.
I understand.
So then I have a 1968 B100 swept line long bed.
Very nice.
Got a little 318 that
Oh,
is
the long bed.
it's the long bed. Yeah.
See, now
Which
that itself is kind of cool because everybody wants the short beds. It's just the thing.
yeah.
And it's like the long beds are actually very cool if you sit back, and look at them. They really shine, especially if they're lowered just a little bit.
Right, right. And that's the thing is I have I still have manual steering in it. so I don't need a gym. I mean, I've got two of my three cars are manual steering.
Yeah.
So it's a joy, but it does need a new engine. So there's that. And then of course this is the one that I'm not going to keep stock. So
Yeah.
I did Hemi swap in my brain for a second and kind of talked myself back down. Maybe a 360 or something would be fine.
Well, you could do a 318, from a Durango or a Dakota or something, that
A newer gen, yeah.
you fit in there.
Yeah, I mean, both right up to that 727 transmission, so it'll be
Oh,
fine.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of options. There's this little money thing that kind of gets in my way, but
Well,
you
what do you
know,
mean rent? Why would you want to? I mean, what's the choice after all? Come on.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is I ended up finding a 2015 Challenger RT Plus
Oh,
that
okay.
had 34,000 miles on it. So I kind of wanted it, and so I
Yeah.
got it.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
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 Well, see, that is kind of the problem, isn't it? Because, you have a car and oh, there's another car. And now I have two cars, and I see this other car over here, and maybe, now I'm gonna have to add on to the garage. Or wait, I could cut the gate out of the fence and park a couple of them in the back. And then
Yeah,
yeah,
the
that's how
neighbors
it
love
goes.
you. That's,
Yeah, yeah. Your
it's an
HOA
interesting thing.
gives you a call.
Well, we don't have HOA, which is
Uh,
fine, but we also don't own this property, so there's
yeah,
that. Because
yeah,
when
yeah.
we buy it, it probably will be out of state, and we're both really, close to that retirement age, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I think I'll work until I'm dead, which is fine. This industry just, I don't think I could ever retire from it, or
Well,
no.
as you said early on, it's a passion. It's a thing that,
Yeah,
if that turns the lights on in your head, then why stop? I mean,
right.
why? I just had breakfast Sunday morning with a fella who's 83, and he has a whole garage full of stuff, and he is not going to stop, and he works on them as he can, and some things he can't do anymore, but he's not going to stop in the slightest way of thinking. And why would you? Why would you?
Right.
As long as you're paying the rent and I mean, you're buying food and everything like that, nothing else goes wanting. Do it. Um,
Right.
we were talking before the show a little bit about cars and coffee, and
Mhm.
this last Saturday was the one that we put on up here, the third Saturday of every month. And a fella showed up before the event actually started because we were kind of setting up and eating lunch and everything. And he said, "So this is the first time I've seen this thing I thought on Facebook. When is this going to happen?" I said, "Well, it's in another 40 minutes, and then we're going to be here all afternoon." And he says, "Well, I got a truck at home that it's a '53 Chevy 3100 pickup, and I'll go get it and bring. Come ahead, that's great." Well, he
Right.
he didn't get back until the thing was really kind of done, and so
Mm.
we talked for a little while, and his wife is with him, and she says, "Invite him back to the house." And okay,
Ooh.
So we go over to his house. Not only does he have that and three other really, really fine vehicles, he's got an original 1954 Chris Craft wooden boat in there.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. Nice guy, and he's got to be 80, and no sign of stopping. In fact, I bought a set of bucket seats from him that I can put in my wife's Dodge. So, you know,
That's what I want to do is
yeah,
get that the bucket set up for my truck. That's one of the things I would love
yeah,
to have in it. But
yeah,
yeah, no, I mean I think that it's so important now. I've left the industry a few times. I would get frustrated back in the 70s. Things were
yeah.
just not really let's face it, the men were just not very accepting of women in the industry. They were
Mm.
intimidated by it, and I would
That's
I
a good way
was
to
doing
put
the,
it. That's exactly right.
and I think that's really what it is, and it's not trying to, at least the men that I experienced in
Yeah,
the parts working parts counters. I had mechanics would come up and say, "Oh, I'll wait for one of the guys," and really would
yeah.
not let me look their parts up. The ironic thing is I had the lowest percentage of returns for
There
this
you go.
application.
There you go.
So, it was nothing that you could force on anybody at that point. At least I didn't feel it. I didn't know about SEMA. I felt like an
Sure.
island. I didn't know about all these. And SEMA back then, I don't know. I know that SBN has been around for a while,
Yeah.
but I really didn't feel like I had many allies except for other guys that were, willing to teach me parts or, explain stuff if someone wrote the part down on the counter and how to identify it and different things like that. But it was few and far between that I got that training. So
Sure.
then,
Well, and SEMA in
I,
the 70s was pretty insular. I mean, it was really industry for
yeah,
industry for industry. And if you weren't connected, you weren't going to go. I mean, they
right.
didn't let you in.
Well,
So,
it's so ironic because I didn't find out about SEMA until 10 years ago.
right, right.
And it was because I was working at Flowmaster B&M in Hearst.
There you go.
And because, what I was setting up the booth, and being involved in that part of it, being the marketing coordinator. But um, first time I went was 2017.
Right.
And that's, as you know, walking that floor, you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah, it's
So
a big
I
floor
kind of
too.
love it. It's getting bigger.
Yeah, it is.
And,
Yeah.
they've added that whole West Hall. And so, yeah, but I'm going with the foundation and
So
gonna
tell me
be
about the
there.
foundation. Let's hear more about that.
So the Quarter Mile Foundation was started by Tracy Rudka, who is of the Mr. Gasket family.
Right.
Her dad and uncle started Mr. Gasket, and they're racers. I think she probably was conceived at a racetrack. She's just always, that's been her whole life. Um, to the point where she wanted to make sure we were preserving conversations with the legends of builders, racers, promoters,
Sure.
track owners, anybody involved. And we have several hundred hours of interviews.
Nice.
So our goal is to get these things on TV at some point, and make some great memories for people because we're losing some of the real. I mean, I think anybody that's passionate in this industry and sticks with it,
Mhm.
regardless of how they have to get through it, is great. I think that that's just saying you're in it for the duration. So Tracy and I met through the Flowmaster group, and then met face to face at SEMA in 2017, and we just became instant goofballs together. And so she asked me if I wanted to help her out with the foundation, and um, I really enjoy it. I enjoy seeing what she's got up her sleeves. I'm amazed at how many people she obviously knows pretty much everybody. Um, so I get to kind of be in awe and learn from her on, you know, this guy's been doing this for this long and this is how he likes to be
Right.
talked to. And,
Yeah.
so yeah.
It's nice to get, those little intros. I know that we've had some pretty stellar folks on the show over the years. Kenny Youngblood and some of the,
Mhm.
some of the names. And it's kind of nice to have somebody as a buffer in some cases. I mean, I'm not afraid to talk to anybody, but some people want to be handled in a particular way. We did, we had John Schneider on, from Dukes. Um,
Mhm.
and what a great guy. He did, his people talk to our people. It was one of those things. And then he shows up, he does the whole interview from his phone, sitting in his car. And
Right.
just as cool as you could possibly be. And, we still, be buddies and friends. And I talk to him, more often than I probably should. I hope I'm not bugging him, but he's a great fella. And most of the people that I've talked to in the industry, you know, all just 100%. There's
Yeah.
yet to run into a jerk. I hope they can say
You
this
know,
to me.
yeah,
But
no, I agree with you. I think that when I'm at my booth and I get to talking with people, I see the spark in their eyes and they see the spark in mine, and there's kismet and all kinds of good,
right.
you know. And there are times when, my boyfriend will be my roadie, so he'll be like, "Hey, you got people coming in that way and you're talking about this guy's car." And I said, "But I got to finish that conversation. I'll
Yes.
get to them with it, and talk to them about apparel or whatever, but I want to hear the story." It's like you, you get such great information and you get such great hope in humanity, and it's just a
Yeah.
bond. It
Yeah.
really is. There's just nothing. I mean, you may not be in the same style of cars. Now, I'm of the mindset that I may not go build myself a drifting car or a this or that, but I have to appreciate when something's done well.
Sure.
And
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I believe that there's art and there's all kinds of magic, and people sacrifice so much to make a car happen.
Oh, absolutely. Some of
So, you know,
some of my
yeah.
favorite people on this show are people who do something that I will probably never do. I mean, I've had lowrider guys and tuner guys and all kinds of stuff, and they're just as passionate about their builds as anybody else. And it's always fascinating to look and go, so really, so this is what you did. And oh, I never would have thought, I mean, all of those little, pop-up moments are marvelous. Thank you, by the way, for using the word kismet. That's shows
I'm probably dating myself.
not a
So
bit.
there's,
No, no, no. It's
yeah.
marvelous. You don't get that one very often, and I appreciate it. So tell me what's coming up ahead for Vroom Vroom. What's your three member or three part list of what's cool to do and coming up,
Well, as far as events go, I've got 4 car shows before SEMA
right?
that I will be this weekend, as we talked about. I'll be going up to Oroville, which has their Salmon Festival, which is a week-long event.
Yeah,
And they have a day. The Oro Dam Cruisers is the car club that puts on a show for one day. And it's nice because my son lives there. It's about not quite 3 hours from here, but I never see him. So,
yeah.
he grew up and got married, and
They
so I
do
have to
that.
chase him now.
They do that when you're not looking.
Yeah, but that's also just like, hey, I did okay. I'm glad.
Yeah.
So, and then I don't know if you know who Pete Paulson is.
I'm sorry, who?
Pete Paulson.
Yes,
Okay. So I'll
yes.
be at his hot rod party on the
Nice.
1st of October.
And I saw that on
It-
your Facebook page. I think
yeah,
on
and
the
it's my
events
first
or
time
something.
going to it. It's one
Yeah,
of those ones that you just kind of feel like it's an inner sanctum kind of, I don't know, something really just super cool. You gotta
sure.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled about that. And then I'll be doing some shows here in one county south of here. It's a downtown business association type where they block the street off and have a party. And
Right.
then my last show of before SEMA is usually the Alzheimer's show, which
Uh,
is a local car club puts on every year.
right.
So
Yeah, we do it
yeah,
on paper
so
autism, same sort of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. It's good busy. And I typically after I get back from SEMA, I'm kind of like spent. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. If for
so
nothing else, just for walking around that building or those buildings,
yeah,
it's a long,
yeah.
it's a long drive.
It is a long one, and I try to make sure and get to some panels. I have so when I worked at Flowmaster, one of the things that I did was I revived their custom car builder program.
Oh,
It really didn't have anybody calling and checking and seeing what they're building on besides the the big shots that we had contacts with.
sure.
So I started cold calling people and finding names and hey, what are you working on? Oh yeah, we can do mandrel bends and this way and that
Yeah.
way. And
Yeah.
production hated me for it, but that's okay.
Hey, you got to stretch now and then. That's important. I got a set of flow masters on my RAM. I mean, I totally get it.
Yeah. Oh no, the first thing that I always did, even before I started working there, before I
Yeah.
take a vehicle home, was go right to the muffler shop.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I like the 40s. It's a nice sound.
mhm.
Well, that is
My
great.
2500 has it. Yeah. So
There you go. So what's obviously people can find you on Facebook, Vroom Vroom Girl on Facebook. You've got a website. What's something you want people to know about the organization or your stuff that they might not know?
um, hmm. Well, I think that the big thing for me is it's never too late to start. And that might sound a little cheesy, but I was just kind of like, okay, I'm just kind of gonna go to a car show here and there and fade to the background. And between a couple different things that revived me and meeting a couple people and then, getting these cars, I kind of got where I'm curious again. And
Yeah.
I think it's really important to remember that you're going to learn something if you pay attention in this business. Whether it's for a profession or as an enthusiast,
Yeah.
you're going to learn something. And I really think it's key because that's what life is.
Well,
It's
sure.
a one big learning experience, and you should be learning until the day you die.
Yeah. Yeah. When you stop learning,
And
you might as well just, pack it in.
yeah,
Because there's nothing else that's fun. I really that is terrific. I love that. For me too. I mean, at some point I may retire, but I think it's going to be the morning of my funeral. I think that's when
right. I
that's
think
when
I had a black 300C for 15 years, and I was working at Sonoma Raceway. That's my home track, and I left NASCAR Friday and got totaled
Oops.
on the highway and stopped traffic. A guy in a Jeep
Yeah.
hit me just the right way. And then I was laughing. I'm like, well, that was supposed to be my funeral car. I was going
Mhm.
to, it's like, because we can't afford coffins. We got to, use the
Yeah,
car. So,
drive it into the hole and turn on
right.
the radio, I guess.
Yeah. So, that's the thing is, I do find even talking with car people, like people go by my booth and they'll repeat my name, which is good. Most of them will kind of, if they're not car people, they'll kind of chuckle and keep walking. Some get curious. And I've had women come in and thank me
Oh,
for
good.
having this apparel. So,
Well done.
and then I've had
Well
women
done.
come in and look for half tops. And I said, that's not what I'm about.
Right.
And maybe there's another vendor here for you on that. But
Good. It's the pinup booth
um,
down the way.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have friends that are pinups and,
All
it
good.
makes them
All good.
happy and there's a
Yeah,
place for everybody in this
absolutely.
industry. But I fought the gender stuff for a really long time. And, so there's that. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you're doing and the focus that your group and your business is about it's exciting to me because that's where chops, if I can use the word, get built. Anybody can,
right,
put on a halter top. That's not the thing. If you're going to be part
right.
of the industry, where you are is the stepping stone. That's the path. I personally think. I mean,
Well, and that's the thing too, is that the way I look at it is that women are fighting for equality in the industry, in the trades. We've
sure.
got a shortage in the trades. If you want to be taken seriously in the trades, then dress like you're ready to go to work
Yep,
in
I'm
the
with you.
trades.
I'm
Yeah.
with you.
So I've been very passionate about that, and not everybody agrees with me, and that's fine. You know that's life.
Well,
So that's one of the things that I've been really, I really try and keep the clothing what works. Would I wear it? Yes. If I wouldn't, then it's not
yeah.
my market.
Sure. You got to be your own best model, I guess, don't you? I mean, that's kind of the.
Well, I don't know. These days, too much on the road food and not enough of the gym time kind of
It's
thing.
all
But
up
yeah,
here. It's all up
yeah,
here. That's
it
grand. Well,
is.
Diane, thank you so much for taking some time. I really appreciate it. This show is going to be up in a couple of days, and we'll make sure to send you links to all of that as well. And for those of you
Great.
watching from someplace else, it's Diane Levine, the Queen, Vroom Vroom Girl. It's on Facebook. It's on the web. Check it out. And again, really, thanks a lot for taking some time.
The Hot Rod Podcast is sponsored by the Idaho Hot Rod Hall of Fame, a nonprofit organization that recognizes and rewards men and women who actively promote the hot rod community, clubs, and builders all over the state of Idaho. Every year we award a Hot Rodder of the Year, a Club of the Year, and a Young Rodder of the Year, as well as giving out scholarship money to students in the auto trades programs at local colleges. If you want to know more, or if you want to nominate an honoree, go to idahof.org or email us at idahof@gmail.com. That's idahof, IDAHHOF.org, or again, idahof@gmail.com.
What a great show. And Diane, thanks again for taking some time and coming on the show with us. Really enjoyed the conversation. And of course, as we mentioned, Vroom Vroom Girl on Facebook and vroomvroomgirl.com on the web. You can go check out all of her stuff and her merch and everything else and support her trip to SEMA, because that's where she's headed next. Great stuff coming the next coming weeks. Ron will be back next show. Thanks for joining us. This has been the Hot Rod Podcast. I'm Brady Wright. Good night.
That's it for this episode of the Hot Rod Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to our show, and we appreciate it if you smash those notification buttons too, so you'll know when a new one drops. For Ron Foreman, I'm Brady Wright. This has been the Hot Rod Podcast. We'll see you on the next one.